Do I need a first class? Is there an age limit? And do I need any level of experience before I can be accepted on the program?
There's no requirement as an A level. In fact, they don't even look at your grades. The course that you're applying to at Oxford, they might have their own criteria, but the scholarship in particular, they do not look at your grades. They do not have any age limit, and there's no minimum experience requirement. Contextualizing that, in the current cohort, we're 34 scholars, and I'm the
Yes.
youngest of them. I'm just 22.
Oh,
On the other hand, there are scholars that are also 35 plus. They have moved to Oxford with their families. Some also have children. So there's no age requirement, there's no experience requirement, there's also no academic requirement. All they look at is your overall personality.
We are back with another episode, and tonight we are hosting Oshil Bansal. She's a master's candidate at the University of Oxford, where she's currently pursuing her master's in development economics. In this conversation, we are going to discuss about her scholarship, which I'll call the WHT, but in full it is called the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Scholarship. So if you are applying for this scholarship, you may want to listen to this conversation in details. In this conversation, we are going to discuss about where to find the scholarship, the documents you are supposed to provide for the scholarship, the kind of funding that is provided, and what you as an international student should expect. So all this information is in the conversation. Welcome, and thank you for accepting to join us tonight.
Thank you very much, Omae. It's such a pleasure and indeed a privilege to be able to come on your podcast and share my journey with your viewers, because I do understand that application process to foreign universities can get challenging, and the resources available out there in public are not that great. So, I mean, you're doing a great job providing access to information to more and more people, and I'm so glad to be a part of it.
Thank you. So if I'm to ask, could you please tell us who you are?
I'm Oshil Bansal and I'm from India. Currently at Oxford, I'm pursuing the MSc in Economics for Development course, and I've been funded by this very amazing trust under their scheme called the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust Scholarship and Leadership Program. I come from an economics background. I did my undergrad at Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University in India. And after that, I worked with a private consulting firm for a year. And now I'm here at Oxford.
So what is the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Scholarship?
It is a scholarship that has been instituted by the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust. This scholarship covers the entirety of your tuition fees and also provides an allowance for living expenses. It's instituted for people from the developing countries who want to pursue a 1 year master's program at the University of Oxford. And their guiding philosophy is that they want to make education accessible to the future leaders of tomorrow. And something that they really stress on is leadership and your leadership potential. And not just your potential, but they also pick you and nurture you throughout your year at Oxford to be able to fully prepare you for the challenges that you will encounter in future.
Yeah, that is a very good initiative to
Yeah,
take,
yeah,
trying to nurture people into leadership.
yeah.
I would be interested to know if you
Right.
always knew about this scholarship, or at what point did you learn about this scholarship, and where did you learn about this scholarship?
So I learned about the scholarship through some of my seniors at the university where I pursued my undergrad from. So two of my seniors who had graduated from my undergrad university even before I joined it had received this scholarship at Oxford, and I just happened to, go through their LinkedIn profiles, and that's how I discovered this scholarship. But I do understand that people can get to know about this scholarship from different platforms through LinkedIn, Twitter, through word of mouth, through the Oxford University website. But yeah, I discovered it through a senior of mine.
So we have an audience from
Right,
different parts of the world,
right.
and people usually want to understand if they can merit to apply for this scholarship or not. What criteria do they consider so that you be accepted into this program?
A couple of things to keep in mind is that this scholarship is only available for applicants from the developing countries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only available for 1 year master courses. And the eligibility for the courses changes a bit almost every year. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always a good idea to check either the Oxford University website or the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust website, because every year they list down the master's courses that are eligible for the scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you find out about the eligibility criteria.
So if I get it correctly,
Yeah.
it's not like every master's program at Oxford.
Yes, but most of them, because most of the master's programs at Oxford are
Mm-hmm.
for a year or under a year. I believe most of them are included under the scholarship, but it's always a good idea to just quickly check that out.
Do I need a first class? Is there an age limit? And do I need any level of experience before I can be accepted on the program?
There's no requirement as an A level. In fact, they don't even look at your grades.
Mm-hmm.
The course that you're applying to at Oxford, they might have their own criteria that you might need an A level, upper class honors, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the scholarship in particular,
Mm-hmm.
they do not look at your grades. They do not have any age limit, and they also do not. There's no minimum experience requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Contextualizing that, in the current cohort, we're 34 scholars, and I'm the
Yes.
youngest of them. I'm just 22. On the
Oh.
other hand, there
Mm-hmm.
are scholars that are also 35 plus. They have
Mm-hmm.
moved to Oxford with their families. Some also have children. So there's no age requirement, there's no experience requirement, there's also no academic requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So all they look at is your overall personality. Have you at any point in life exhibited some initiative, some leadership potential? It could be something like leading your group activity in class,
Mm-hmm.
how you managed that group, how you motivated the team to reach a particular outcome. It could
Mm-hmm.
be a startup, it could be any society that you were a part of, or a club you were a part of in your school, in your undergrad university. It could be anything. They just tend to look at your overall personality
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of future aspirations do you have.
So if I get you correctly, it is all about how you present what you've done so far.
That's true, and what your future goals and ambitions are.
Do I need to have like founded something that will make me win a Nobel Prize to merit for this, or it also goes to all like the normal day-to-day experiences?
It can be something extremely basic, it could be a very normal day-to-day experience.
Mm-hmm.
You do not need to have some crazy business or some crazy research work.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
could be something about, okay, back during my undergrad days, I
Mm-hmm.
had this group project and we were stuck at some point because of this. But this is how I chimed in. This is how I brought the group together to one page. And
Okay.
this is how we were again motivated, and so were the outcomes. It could be a very routine and a day-to-day experience. It's just about how you as a person deal with different situations. What is your thought process like, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, what aspirations do you have in future?
I was just listening to you a few seconds ago, and I remember you mentioned you are from India. So it's correct if I classify you as an international student, right?
Right, right.
What documents did you need to submit as an international student so as to be accepted into this program?
Into the scholarship program or into
Yes.
the course that I'm pursuing?
We will just talk about the course a few minutes later, but
Got
for
it,
now,
got it,
let's focus on the program first.
got it.
WHT.
Got it. So for this scholarship,
Mhm.
you need to submit a statement, and the template of the statement is available on the University of Oxford website
Okay.
and also on the website of the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust.
Mhm.
You just download that. It's a Word document.
Mhm.
They will ask for some of your personal details like your name, date of birth, country, what course did you apply to? Some very basic personal details.
Mm-hmm.
And then they usually have around 5 personality-based questions
Mm-hmm.
that you need to answer in 200 words.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how your statement is complete. After that, when you apply to the University of Oxford for your course,
Mm-hmm.
there's a section on their portal which states that do you want to apply for the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust Scholarship. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you click yes, and then you get the option to upload this statement. So
Okay.
you upload this statement with your application.
So if I get you correctly, after you fill the template,
Right,
you are going to the University of Oxford program. So to the specific program you're applying to,
right.
and then start writing your application, correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's
This is
correct.
at the point at which you're going now to upload this template.
Right, right. That's where you upload this. So there are 5 questions,
Mm-hmm.
personality-based questions, and each of the question needs to be answered in 200, maximum 200 words.
So that's 1,000 words in total.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember any of these questions generally?
Yes. There were questions around, a lot of questions around your motivation in life and your personality in general.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions in last year's template was, why are you interested in our leadership program? So
Mm-hmm.
for the audience, this scholarship also comes with a year-long leadership program. So throughout my year at Oxford, there are some compulsory events that I need to attend,
Mm-hmm.
which are a part of this leadership program of the trust.
Mm-hmm.
And these uh, programs that I attend, they are very varied in nature. So one is the moral philosophy seminar series. We
Mm-hmm.
have its sessions at regular intervals. We also have business challenge related activities. We
Mm-hmm.
also have some social activities like dinners, lunches, festival celebrations. So
Mm-hmm.
that all constitutes a part of this leadership program. And if you do go on their website, they will talk a lot about their leadership program, the
Mm-hmm.
activities they have under it. These activities also include, um, seminars to improve your communication skills, your social media skills, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, one very important question was that what value do you see in our leadership program and why do you want to be a part of it? Second was again about past leadership experiences. So, the question was structured like, um, have you ever mobilized a group to achieve a common goal?
Sorry, let me cut you short there. So what did you say?
Oh, in the value that I see in the leadership program,
Yeah,
right?
in your application.
Right. So, one very important aspect of it was that in the future, I'm quite passionate about tackling the crisis of climate change back in my
Mm-hmm.
home country in India. So, one very crucial thing that I did want to learn from this program was when you go out to solve such a global problem
Mm-hmm.
in your own country, you also need to understand diverse global practices, the best practices of solving this problem that are being employed out there in the world.
Yeah.
I cannot be just sitting in my bubble in India and think that, okay, I'm going to solve this problem, because climate change has so many interlinkages in
Yeah.
its
And
influence
it's a
has
global concern.
this. So one thing that I was really was keen on was I want to learn the global best practices out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I can also not learn through my course curriculum. I need diverse people around me who are
Mm-hmm.
working in the field of development, who are like minded or maybe diverse, but I want to know it from the people themselves that what are the kind of work they are working on,
Mm-hmm.
how are their countries dealing with it. So, that kind of diverse community based learning and the global best practices was something that I really wanted to learn from this leadership program. The second was that I wanted to develop some sense of ethics and moral understanding
Mm-hmm.
because today, if you are going in the developmental sector, there are so many nuances to it:
Mm-hmm.
economic, social, political, legal, and you really need to have your a good moral backing and a very clear chain of thought that okay, these are the two situations that are there at hand. But because morally, I think this is what matters more to my community, or because I feel morally this is what matters to me more,
Mhm.
This is the decision that I want to take. So that sort of moral clarity, thinking, that's something that I wanted to develop. And the leadership program comes with a very good sub aspect of it, which is the moral philosophy seminar series. So
Mhm.
I thought that that was one of the perfect initiatives, at least in my scenario, to go out and be a part of.
Now we go to the next essay.
Right. So the other question was, have you ever mobilized a group of people to achieve a common goal?
Mhm.
And if yes, how? So, if you do sort of read this question and all the other questions, you'll figure out that this question speaks, they're trying to understand your past leadership experiences.
Yeah.
And it does not have to be something very crazy, but what they're more keen on understanding is how you dealt with the situation. The situation could have been anything, but how you
Mhm.
dealt with it. So, in this case, I spoke about my work at Project Leher, which is my not for profit that I have in India where we recycle cigarette waste.
Mhm.
So, that's where I mentioned that I mobilized a group of almost 50 to 60 volunteers in my college. And the way I did was through a lot of social media outreach,
Mhm.
because back when I started this initiative, it was 2021 and it was the year of pandemic.
Yeah.
I had not met most of the people in my college.
So
And it
you
was,
were still doing your undergraduate degree.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
And in the online setup, it's very difficult to build those
Mobilize
personal,
people.
yes, mobilize people. So
Mhm.
in that scenario, social media and online outreach made the most sense. So that's how in your college groups, in your course groups on Instagram, you
Mhm.
reach out to people, and that's how you market that, okay, this is the initiative and this is the cause we're driven towards. And once you're a part of it, you'll get to learn these skills. So in my application, I explicitly mentioned that when you try to mobilize a group, you always mobilize it by keeping in mind
Mhm.
your objectives and the other person's objectives.
Yeah.
So for me, the objective is to bring more people into this, but the people or the volunteers who will be coming in, their objective is not just to contribute to the cause, but also learn more skills.
Yeah.
So I also told these volunteers about, if you come and do this work with us, you will learn this skill, you will learn that skill. So that's how you mobilize a group. And when I was answering the bit about how you motivated them to achieve a common goal as a team.
Mhm.
So in that bit, I wrote about that I was very open with communication. So let's say if a not for profit
Mhm.
was making some profit, then I was communicating about it to all the stakeholders, as in to the volunteers that I had, the communities we were benefiting, the profits we used to make go out to our communities who are very traditional artisans who do a
Mhm.
lot of handwork and make products out of it. So those are
Yeah.
the communities that we benefit. So because it was a not for profit, all the profits we used to make used to go out to these artisans.
Mhm.
That's how you keep all the stakeholders together, that you're transparent with communication, you share the gains with them, most important. And if someone's facing any problem based on their work or anything, you proactively reach out to them, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're all humans. And that's how you keep the team together.
Sounds like a good experience, and I could use it across actually almost a good number of applications. And just following on what you've just discussed,
Right.
it is more or less like you don't need to be a CEO.
Yes.
You don't need to be a senior manager in a company. You only
Most.
need to learn to put
Yeah.
out what you're doing, right?
Right.
Yeah. So whoever is listening to this, of course, they can try to figure out and think about what they've been doing, any volunteership and such kind of a thing. So we go on to the next two
Right.
essays.
The other question was, tell us about your future career goals and where do
Hmm.
you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years.
Hmm.
So, in this, be extremely honest about what you want to do and speak about your passion.
Hmm.
So, in my case, I mentioned that after pursuing MSc in economics for
Hmm.
development at Oxford, I want to come back to India and work with the Indian Prime Minister's office. and do some work around building policies for climate change, speak to more people, network a bit, and eventually, in the 5 to 10 years timeline, I want to be able to pioneer a public carbon credits trading scheme for India. Not a scheme, in fact, a policy change wherein we bring in carbon credits trading into the system and make it an everyday thing for the people of India, because going forward it's going to be important.
Yeah.
Now, the key here is that when I was writing this application, at that point, I did not know that how I'm going to go about implementing this policy in India, because that's something I will be coming to Oxford to learn, right? About
Yeah.
more economics, about how feasible it is, how to go about designing this. But it's about how passionate and how much of an ambition you have. Where do you envision yourself? Because the scholarship values leadership a lot. And this is how, you bring out the crazy dreams and ambitions that you have for yourself, that
Yeah.
okay,
I
I
mean,
see myself there, and that's why I want to come to Oxford, learn those things, and then eventually down the line, in the next 5 to 10 years, I want to be able to do so and so for my country.
did you have to map this to the funding? And what do you think about this aspect of people being over ambitious in their essay applications and such? I mean, like, what do you consider, or at what point should one say this is what is actionable and this is now over ambitious?
Think of it like, once you complete the course that you applied for at Oxford,
Mhm.
where do you see yourself? Because someone could be going for an MBA, someone could be going for a master's in public policy, or
Mhm.
maybe they could be going for a course in law. But eventually, they want to understand that after you do this course, once you're trained to that level, where do you see yourself?
Mhm.
And by ambition, I just mean that what kind of change will you be able to bring for your own community, or for your country, or for the world? If I wrote that I see myself working out there in the private sector. Now, private sector has so much to it. I could be
Mhm.
doing anything, but what they want me to highlight is my ambition. That's the ultimate thing that I want to do in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's why you sort of become more specific, that this is my ambition, and this is how my degree and the training of the leadership program at your scholarship, this is how these skills and these opportunities will lead me to this specific thing.
Sounds great. And now that leaves us with the next and last essay, right?
Right. So these were very specific questions, but there could
Mhm.
be one or two questions that could be a bit abstract.
Mhm.
And they try to learn from those questions, that how you think about it and how would you go about it in real life. So there
Mhm.
was this one question in my application, that how can one person make a difference? And it could be anything. You can write about your personal experience. You
Mhm.
can write about a lot of teamwork and leadership abilities. You can write about something that you learned about this from a book. That,
Mhm.
okay, I read this book, this fictional character did this.
Mhm.
Or let's say I'm really inspired by some great individual in my life, and this is how that person did it.
Mhm.
So it can be, you can take the answer to this question in any direction. But because this is so abstract, how can one person make a difference? People can have their own thinking about it. But the way I wrote about it was, I truly feel that all of us have our own skill sets, have our
Mhm.
own ambitions, and have
Yeah.
our own experiences. So, via experiential learning, I think all of us can drive some difference. Then I narrated an incident that's quite personal to me. So, during my undergrad, I was elected as the gender champion of my college, and I
Mhm.
worked a lot towards female welfare initiatives. I was working with a very remote village close to one of the Indian cities, and there I tried to speak to the local women about some personal finance initiatives. But because it was a money related matter, and because I'm a stranger to those women, they were not at all interested in what I was speaking about, which
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Why would someone from such a close knit community trust a random stranger like myself about something as trivial as finance, something as significant as
Personal.
finance? So I was kind of heartbroken at that time because I knew that my intention was right. But then I thought about it. I realized my mistake. And then eventually, what I did was I collaborated with a local NGO. And through the NGO, I spoke to those women. And that's when they were really interested in the initiative I was speaking about. So I
Yeah.
told that through my experience, I introspected a lot, thought about the mistake I did, corrected it, and eventually I was able to make a difference. So I concluded it by saying that through your experiential learning and through a lot of collaboration, every individual can make a difference.
I think that is very comprehensive.
Yeah,
In fact, if I was applying for this
right,
scholarship, I would just sit down and write points about what you just said and rewrite in my own unique language and experiences.
right.
I'm just curious to know, were you interviewed before you were accepted on this program?
Once you apply to the scholarship
Mhm,
and to a program at Oxford,
mhm,
and if you get an admit from the University of Oxford,
mhm,
then they will consider your application
mhm,
and then they will shortlist some people. Like they'll go through your application. The Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust will go through your application, they'll read it, and if they
mhm,
find it interesting,
mhm,
then they will email you for an interview.
mhm.
I think, yeah, that's the final step. The interview
So,
is the final
so how
step.
was your interview experience? What kind of things did they ask you? What did they expect from you during the interview? Did you come to the UK for the interview? Sorry, I've asked three
No,
questions.
that's okay. So, interview was, it's usually like a 20 to 30-minute conversation, and it was
Mhm,
held online. So I
mhm.
did not have to travel at all. I just gave it from my home. But so you need to realize that they've already read your application and
Yeah.
they have a good idea of who you are,
Mhm,
but they want to learn more about you in
mhm,
those 20 to 30 minutes. So make sure that you're not very repetitive about the experiences that you've already mentioned. I
mhm,
mean, of course, you can talk more about the same experiences. Don't talk about the same thing that you've written in your application. And the questions are usually structured around why do you want to be a part of this cohort?
mhm,
How do you think this can add to your Oxford journey?
mhm,
And you don't have to like prepare, and it's not going to be academic or technical. It's just purely based on your past experiences and motivation. But they'll ask you questions around, was there any situation in your life when you felt hopeless or you received some really negative critical feedback,
mhm.
and then how you overcame that situation? Was there a situation when all your team members went against you, and how did you cope with that situation?
I remember from our earlier part of the conversation, you mentioned something about filling a template and then
Yeah,
uploading it to the MSc program. So,
right,
does it mean that if I am admitted to the University of Oxford for a
right,
specific program, I've
right.
also been awarded this scholarship?
Uh, no. So after you've received your admit from a particular course,
Hmm.
that's when Oxford University will send your application
Hmm.
to the trust that, okay, we have accepted this person to the university,
Hmm.
and we think that you should read their application. So then the trust will read your application, and if they like it, then they will reach out to you for an interview call.
What is a conditional and unconditional offer?
It's related to the program that you're applying for.
Hmm.
Every program has certain conditions or selection criteria.
Hmm.
For example, one condition could be that if you're not from an English speaking country, then you need to give the IELTS or the TOEFL exam, right? The English exam. Or some other requirement could be that you need to give, let's say, GRE or GMAT, and we will need your scores. So these are the conditions that every course has. let's say if you've applied to Oxford, but you're yet to meet one of these conditions. So sometimes what the university does is that they will reach out to you and they'll tell you that, okay, we've accepted you to the university, we like your application. But
Hmm.
you're yet to meet one of our criteria. As it could be related to the English language requirement, or it could be related to your transcript. So in my case, I had my mark sheet from college, but they needed an official transcript from my university. So they were like, okay, we like your grades, we like your application, and we're admitting you. But your offer will be made unconditional only when we receive your official transcript from the university.
So you are telling me that your application was forwarded to WHT
Right.
even without you meeting all the conditions at the onset.
Yes, yes.
For me to apply for this funding,
Right.
do I need to have graduated first?
No, not essentially. You could be in your final year of graduation and you can still apply.
Okay, that sounds good because
Yeah.
it now helps me understand the position and the angle from which we can
Yeah.
approach this question. Now
Right.
that you've submitted all your application, there's actually a few things that we have not mentioned,
Right.
and these are other complementary documents, something like a CV, passport, and other things. Did you have to submit those two? I mean,
For
like,
my WHT application.
yeah,
Yeah.
first applying to the University of Oxford, do you need to provide documents like your CV and the likes?
Yeah. So when you apply to Oxford for your course, they do
Mhm.
ask you for your documents. One is definitely passport if you're not from the UK. Uh yeah. So one is passport, and for my course, they did not particularly ask me for a CV. So I did not have to upload my CV. But they have this long section wherein they'll ask you a lot of questions around your past work experience, your research experience. Have you done any internships?
Mhm.
Do you have any academic awards? Have you been involved in any, let's say, co curricular activities? So it's almost like a CV, right? That they ask you about your work experience, awards. That now this I'm talking about my course.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are other courses who might explicitly ask for a CV, or in some cases they won't explicitly ask for a CV,
Mhm.
but they will ask you to fill in your, let's say, experience or any research work you've done.
Mhm.
So that in a way makes up for your CV.
Okay, and the easiest way I think this could be approached is, please, somebody who is trying to make this application, they should just go directly to the program and check what the program needs.
Yes.
Of course, if you need information about CVs, if you need information about reference letters,
Right.
recommendation letters, and such kind of stuff, there are a lot of videos out there. You can go check and you will get all the information. But I think, uh, Oshil, you have actually provided as much information on this regard. So how long did you take for you to get the feedback?
So I my Oxford application deadline was 19th of January,
Mhm.
and I believe I almost just made it on time. I think I submitted on 19th January itself, which
Mhm.
is not way to go, which is not a good way to go about it. I'll suggest that if anyone's applying, please target that you submit your application at least 5 days before the deadline,
Yeah.
because the load on their systems is so high on the very last day that for me, a
Mhm.
lot of times on the 19th of January, their portal kept crashing.
Mhm.
So I would suggest that if you're applying, target to finish your application at least 5 days in advance
Mhm.
and keep those 5 days as buffer time. So once I applied on 19th January, I got my decision on my course exactly 2 months after that. So it was around 19th March that I got to know that they're offering me a place in my course. Uh, After that, I think it was after almost 10 to 15 days that WHT reached out to me that, okay, congratulations on your Oxford offer, and we really like your statement. So we would want to schedule an interview with you.
Mhm.
And post that, I think I had my interview in the next 10 days. Um, and I finally received my funding offer after I think almost 2 months. But that was not the case with other scholars. They received their funding offers quite early. They received it within a week or 10 days. But for me, it took some time. So it took 2 months to get my final decision on the scholarship.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it is.
So, in case you are listening to this conversation, we are hosting Oshil Bansal. She's a master's candidate at the University of Oxford, pursuing her master's degree in economics. And in this conversation, we are discussing about the WHT scholarship, which is funded by the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Foundation at the University of Oxford. In the context of the WHT scholarship, what is a fully funded scholarship?
Okay. So by fully funded, they essentially mean that they will cover 100% of your tuition fees at Oxford, which can be quite a good amount sometimes. So for my course, my fee was around 38,000 Great Britain pound.
Mhm.
But for some other courses, especially like the MBA, I think it can go up to 60,000, 70,000 pounds, something like that.
Mhm.
So they will ensure that they cover all of it. So you don't have to pay anything for your tuition fee.
Yeah.
Other than that, from this particular year, they also started covering the visa fee and the air travel fee for the scholars.
Mhm.
So that's also a big relief because these can be some major expenses, especially for the people who are coming from very far of countries.
Mm.
And they also provide you an allowance for your living expenses, which are indeed enough to cover your accommodation, your food bills here, and most of your social life. So it's
So
quite a
we're just coming back to that funding aspect, because I know a lot of people usually develop a lot of interest to understand if
right,
the money will be enough. But you mentioned something about accommodation.
right.
How did you go about the accommodation process? Were you provided accommodation by the university or by the foundation, or did you go ahead to look for the accommodation by yourself?
What? So, Oxford University has a collegiate system, which
Mhm.
is that every student at the university, they will also be a part of one of the colleges at the University of Oxford.
Mhm.
And the way it works for master's students is that the college you're a part of, that particular college will take care of your accommodation, your routine social life. They'll also provide you with libraries, IT facilities, everything. So once you're admitted to a college, the college will reach out to you and will tell you, okay, these are the accommodation options that we have with us, and how would you like to proceed with it? Generally, most of the students I know, because your college is offering you accommodation,
Mhm.
they usually tend to pick one from the list. But other than that, there are also places, private places, I think private flats and PG options to live at Oxford in case you don't want to pursue the option that your college is providing you.
I understand international students sometimes find it very difficult getting
Yeah.
accommodation, especially now that you've been here in the UK for some time.
Right.
You know how difficult it can really get to get accommodation in these universities.
That's correct. But
So, do you remember, okay, approximately how much you're paid per month for the coming cohort?
right. So it depends from your college to college. Some
Mhm.
colleges have very subsidized accommodations. For some colleges, they'll offer you really good accommodation, but it's also a bit pricey. So
Mhm.
most colleges offer all sorts of options, as per your budget.
Mhm.
But to me, they offer this accommodation, this room that I'm in. The thing is that this room is en suite, so it comes with an attached washroom. And for that, I'm paying £950 a month.
Mhm.
But my scholarship stipend is more than enough to cover those costs. I also have friends who are staying in a non-ensuite room, which
Mhm.
tend to be less expensive for obvious reasons.
Mhm.
But I also know of friends who moved here with their families, so they had to take up a flat. And then the flats tend to be more expensive than an ensuite room, because it also comes with a common area and a flat comes with other facilities. So it's more expensive for them. But generally, the stipend is enough to cover these.
So, on average,
Right.
what proportion of the stipend goes into an average accommodation?
Okay. 18, I think almost 60% of your stipend goes to accommodation because accommodation here is quite expensive.
Yeah.
But other than that, the amount you're left with, it's if you budget well, then it's enough to cover your meals and your social life and your other needs like stationery and clothing, all of that here.
So, as an international student, you had to go through the immigration process, right?
Right, right,
And to go through the immigration process,
right.
I tend to understand that you need to apply for things like a visa.
Yeah, yeah.
How was your visa application process?
Okay, so one thing that I will mention is that UK visa application. It's when compared to other countries, this one's fairly easy and very convenient in the sense that their portal works in a very nice manner. For every question, they have details laid out about what they expect. Even the University of Oxford has this very long guide document about visa application, wherein for every question they detail out, okay, this is what you're supposed to fill in this particular question. So the UK visa application, I would say, is very convenient, and you just go on the UK visa website, you apply for a student visa based on your course, and eventually they schedule an appointment with them. You go for the appointment, and they also ask you to upload most of your documents online right before the appointment, so you don't have to take a lot of documents with yourself when you go for the appointment. You just provide your biometrics there and you come back and the visa will come to your place. But I mean, I come from India. I get it that visa rules and visa application for the UK can vary according to the country you're living at. But when compared to other visas, I think this one's fairly more convenient and hassle free.
So, who paid for your visa? Did you pay for it upfront so that you were refunded the money, or was the money sent to you?
Okay,
How did it work?
when I applied for my visa, I did not have the scholarship. So I paid for it myself at that point. But once I got the scholarship, so they give you a one time allowance of £2,000, which is almost enough to cover your expenses like your air travel, your visa, and your health insurance. Because UK visa also requires you to sign up for their health insurance plan.
So they send you the money upfront to if you don't have like it prepared, right?
Yeah.
When did you come to Oxford?
I came to Oxford on 25th of September. And I had to come a week before my course began. That's because this trust has an introductory week, as in they organize a lot of welcome activities for the scholars for a couple of days so that you become friends, you get familiar with the values of the trust, with each other's cultures, and that you form a very close knit community just in the welcome week. So,
So tell us about your first day in Oxford.
okay, so I traveled to Oxford. I came to Oxford all by myself. My family did not come to drop me. And they were very, very worried because they still feel that I'm a child and they were like, you're just 22, you're traveling continents alone, and you have two big suitcases. How will you manage all of that? So, my first day at Oxford, when I came to the airport in London, I took a bus to Oxford, and this one very kind WHT scholar, fellow scholar, she, I'd never met her before, and she came to the bus station to pick me and to help me with my luggage because she came a couple of days before than I did. So she was fairly familiar with the city, and she was so kind that she came to the bus stop to help me with my luggage and help me go to my accommodation. So even before all of us arrived at Oxford, because we had our little WhatsApp group and because We talked for a while. We all were just there for each other. And that was how my first day went. I just arrived at Oxford, uh, went through some of the paperwork process for my accommodation. Although I did all the paperwork online, but they just expect you to sign on a couple of things once you're here, and then you check in. And because I arrived later in the evening, I think the day just went in. Check in, settling in, unpacking, and exploring the city a bit.
Did you experience any culture shock?
Not that much while exploring this city, but one
Mhm.
thing that I feel is fairly unique to UK is that every college here has a bar inside the college. That's something I've never seen in India. You can't even expect alcohol inside a place of study. And I was like,
Okay.
oh my God, this is something very unique, This would never happen in India, like a bar inside an educational institute.
Mhm.
That's like a big no-no in India. So yeah.
Yeah, so that came as a culture shock to you. I mean, like, there
Yeah,
are a lot of culture shocks to experience,
yeah,
especially if
that's
you are
true.
traveling across continents,
Right. That's correct.
because the same way things happen at Oxford is
Yeah.
different from the same way things could happen
Yeah, yeah. Any other
in your
country.
university. So how do you integrate yourself in that kind of a society? Does it give you a bother?
Actually, the thing is that there are some things that are very unique to the UK and the Oxford. For
Mm,
example, something as basic as so they have the traffic signals even for pedestrians,
mm,
You cannot
mhm.
just cross the road whenever you want to.
Yeah.
Pedestrian signals is something that we do not quite have in India.
Mm,
There can be hundreds of cultural shocks.
yeah.
And I think the best way to go about it is be respectful towards everyone.
Yeah.
Even if they come from a country that your country is not very friendly with, even
Mhm,
if they come from a religion that's very different than yours, just be
mhm.
respectful.
Yeah,
For
that's
example,
true.
I'm a Hindu. I don't eat beef
Mhm.
because cows are very sacred in our religion.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, beef is just everywhere in UK, people eat it, which is very normal for them.
Mhm,
So the best you can be is not judge people and be kind. Because I think a lot of people have, there's so many international students that
mhm.
everybody feels, okay, everybody feels some of the other cultural shock.
Yeah,
But the best way is just to be kind with everyone, with literally everyone you meet.
that's true. You might be getting shocked about what you are seeing, but
Right?
maybe the other person is also getting shocked with
Yeah,
what they're seeing from you, right?
that's
So,
true.
so it's a two-way traffic. Somebody should try to understand that we are all here trying to learn something new in a new
Yeah.
environment. Do you get to work?
My visa does, they do allow me some hours of work. I think it's either 12 hours of paid work in a week
Mhm.
or 20 hours.
20.
But Oxford usually keeps you so busy that you find no time to work.
Mm-hmm.
But again, on the campus itself, there are some opportunities for you to take up paid work if you want to. A couple of weeks ago, my college was looking for some invigilators for some exams, some student volunteers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were paying like a good amount to even volunteer for an hour. So
Yeah.
you can find paid opportunities here.
You mentioned that there is a bar in a college.
Yeah.
So I am tempted to believe that is supposed to enhance your social life.
That's true because so many times, even if
Mhm,
you don't want to drink or anything, you can just go there. It's a social space. You can hang out with friends. There are small little games like the dart board,
mhm.
other some board games. So it's just a good place to hang out with people.
So, what other social activities do you get to do while you are at Oxford? Do you get to meet people and make friends, not necessarily from India, but also from other parts of the world? The Trust
Right.
also may be having other arrangements for you as scholars. So, what other kind of social support do you guys get?
Right. So the first social circle that I was introduced to at Oxford was my
Mhm,
WHT community.
mhm,
We're 34 of us in this
mhm,
cohort,
mhm,
and we come from all parts of the world. Again, we're
mhm,
only from developing countries, but again, you will find people from Asia, all parts of Asia, from Africa, from Latin America,
mhm,
and it's always such a good time with those people because in the very first week, you form very close knit bonds with all of them. And then eventually you'll start with your course. So you will meet people at your course.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, there are more people to meet at your own college. So at my college, with people from so many different courses. And because I live on college, I keep meeting them around. Every college organizes its own set of social events. And then there are formal dinners to go to at Oxford, at different colleges. So you will meet so many people here. You'll keep meeting people every day here. I've been here for, I think, almost 1.5 months now, and I feel that every day I'm making so many introductions
Mm-hmm.
because you keep meeting people here.
You know, people get to listen to these conversations and be like, yeah, I think I like this scholarship. And
Yeah,
more so, I think I would also want to know more about this person who
right,
has been talking to me for almost an hour now. And I feel like now I'm confident
right,
to make an application. So
right,
if I am listening to this conversation and I want to network with you, I want to talk to you about stuff and
right.
things, how can I reach to you?
I think the best way is just to reach out is to reach out via LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Send me a connection request and drop me a message, and I'll reply. Sometimes I do tend to be busy here at Oxford because there's
Mm-hmm.
always so much lined up, assignments, activities, all sorts of things. But I'm quite active on LinkedIn and I'm sure to reply soon enough.
Yeah, just as a plus, we actually also met on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah,
So somebody can just go there and actually check and
right.
try to reach out. So that should give you a vote of confidence that she actually networks with people on LinkedIn. And if you have a question or want to talk more about scholarships on this specific program at
Right.
the University of Oxford, you have a question, you need to talk to her about it. Also, if you want to know more about what she does and her experience throughout the year, now that you are also considering making an application, I'm tempted to believe if you've actually listened to this conversation this far, then you're actually interested in this scholarship. So you may want to know her experience. How about you go to the description of this video, look for the link to her LinkedIn profile. Just click on that link and then go there and connect with her. You will get to learn a lot of stuff about Oshil and all the nice fancy things she's doing at Oxford. Maybe we have one last question for you.
Yeah, yeah,
I am a potential applicant.
right.
What should I do?
Okay. One thing that you really need to understand is that the Oxford University, as well as for the scholarship, the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust, these organizations look for what is unique to you and what do you bring to the cohort, what unique things do you bring to the table. So stop thinking like there's a set pattern to crack this, and please don't be harsh on yourself thinking like, oh, I do not have a crazy startup, or oh, I don't have 10 years of work experience, I may not be able to get in. Please don't be harsh on yourself. Please
Mhm.
don't be critical of yourself. Bring out what's unique to you, bring out what you have done, and most importantly, bring out what all your experiences in life have taught you. And I think that's how good applications are made in general.
So thank you for joining us in this conversation. And we wish you all the best throughout your program and past your program.
Thank you so much for having me because I remember just a year ago I was scouting online for resources and there was not much to refer to
Mhm.
except the two websites that I mentioned about in the podcast. I'm so glad that I got to do this podcast with you. And for everyone who's watching, I'm sure Umay is going to bring great content to you with stories of some really inspiring people. So watch out for all the content that's to follow. And again, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, sure. And of course, for the two websites and all the information, just I should have mentioned it will also be available on the description of this video. So, guys, go check it out. So, that
Thank you.
was Oshil Bansal, and this is the Management Diary. Your host today was Omae Joseph, and until we meet in the next episode, bye bye.